While many parents make it a priority to raise money-smart children, some parents neglect to emphasize proper money management and responsible credit use. Inevitably, children who lack sound financial judgment will grow up to be adults who lack sound financial judgment. On today's Money Matters, find out how to empower your children to have a successful financial future. Hello and welcome to Money Matters. I'm Mark Foster. Money Matters is a joint effort by Credit Counseling of Arkansas and the Harvey and Bernice Jones Center for Families. Our mission is to improve the financial health and literacy of individuals and families throughout Northwest Arkansas. And to help us get started with this edition of Money Matters is my co-host, Matt Shellnut.
Thanks, Mark. Well, as parents, we try to provide our children with life skills that will make them healthy and happy adults. We teach them right from wrong, how to treat others with respect, and even how getting a good education will be their ticket to a fulfilling life. But one of the most fundamental life skills that can sometimes be overlooked is teaching them proper money management. Here today to discuss the challenges that parents face in raising money-smart children are the Assistant Vice President of Personal Banking for Legacy National Bank, Adriana Torres. Adriana, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And CCOA counselor and financial literacy seminar leader for young students, Mary Sanchez. Mary, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Matt.
But before we delve into the discussion with our guests, let's visit with some young people who know firsthand the challenges of trying to learn the lessons of financial stewardship. Adults try many different methods in order to raise financially prudent children. But sometimes it's helpful to go right to the source and get some no-holds-barred feedback from today's young minds. Meet 10-year-old Megan and 12-year-olds Marissa, Titus, and Wyatt. Each child discussed some of their money management skills they are beginning to learn and also had a little financial advice for their peers.
When you set a goal to buy something, to stick with it and you'll be more proud of what you bought.
What have you learned about money from watching your parents?
Never buy anything you can't afford.
Be wise with it and spend it on the right things and save what you have to save and look for the best deals at prices for the stuff you want to get.
If you're saving up for something big, don't spend your money on anything else. Just focus on your goal.
Sometimes it's important for us adults to take a step back and remember what it was like to learn things for the first time. This can help us empathize with our children's learning needs and be better teachers of financial responsibility. Because, as these children can attest to, young minds are definitely able to absorb important financial concepts long before they become young adults, and also long before they have to learn the hard way.
It's good to see how a real-life family faces the challenges that come with raising money-smart children. Now let's get our guest's insight on this topic. Adriana, as a banker, why do you feel it's so crucial for children to learn the basics of money and credit?
Well, as a lender, what I can tell you is that the mistakes that we see on young people's credit are just mistakes that can be avoided, such as collections, if they go out and write hot checks, just things like that that they shouldn't be doing, because later on when they try to purchase the big things like a home or a car, that's when they will pay more interest than they should, just because of little mistakes that they have made when they're in their younger years.
So those little mistakes can have lasting ramifications.
Of course.
All right. It's also interesting to get a picture of what teenagers think that their real-world income is going to be when they get out of college. And there was a recent study by Charles Schwab that demonstrated what the average teen's income expectations were, and they were quite unrealistic. Out of 1,000 American teens who were surveyed, the average income that they expected to make when they became adults were $174,000 for boys, while the girls expected to earn about $114,000 annually. Matt, I'm not quite making that. I don't know about you.
Close. Actually, you're my supervisor, so next time my raise comes up,
I'll keep that
hopefully
in mind.
I'll get there.
We're shooting for the 174. So, Mary, as an educator of these young minds, do you think our children are just overly optimistic about their earnings potential, or are there some other factors that cause them to think that they're going to be far wealthier than average?
I believe they are, Mark. I think that they are overly optimistic about their financial earnings in the future. And I think it's largely in part due to the TV. You know, kids watch TV and it's glamorized for them to make a lot of money, so our kids expect that they will also earn that much money someday. So.
All right, well, Adriana, give us an overview of some of the bank's programs that are geared for teens and young children.
Well, what we offer is called a Leaping Legacy account. Basically, what that is you open that account with $1. We give you what we call a froggy bank because it's a frog. So every time you come and make a deposit and bring your frog, we give you a toy such as a reward. That way, you know, they'll be more energetic about going in and putting more money into their account that way.
Okay, you're reinforcing that behavior of going in and saving,
Yes.
and you can start with only $1.
With $1,
That's pretty good. Less than the price of a movie rental or, you know, an icy at the store.
For sure. Well, Adriana touched on some things that some programs that the bank offers and other financial institutions offer to try to encourage children to save and to start thinking about basic money concepts in general. But, you know, the whole purpose of this show is to try to reach or try to learn more as parents and adults how we can better teach our children. And obviously, Mary, you know, as an educator of young minds for some years now, you know that you don't want to go to an elementary school class and start teaching, you know, about investing and, you know, interest and some of these, you know, higher education topics, so to speak. So as we kind of look at some graphics about different age groups, go ahead and kind of read through each one and let's look at some suggestions. Now let's take a look at our first age group, and that's preschoolers. And for them, you may want to set up a jar or piggy bank for them to deposit their savings. Also, allow your child to rent a video or check out a library book and come with you to return it.
You probably want to use a jar that has a removable top. That way your child can count the money as often as they like. Also encourage your child to put their spare change in the jar instead of using it later to buy something else with. So you want to encourage them to save their change. The next age group, early elementary age, ages 5 to 10, where you find extra tasks beyond their non-paying family chores that your child can do to earn money. Also give your child a small loan for a purchase and then charge them a little interest, say a nickel or a dime, for every $1 they borrow. That way they start understanding that it costs money to borrow money in the future when they want to apply for credit. And then the third age group is the middle elementary age, ages 9 to 13. Help your child figure out their expenses and develop a savings plan, aka a budget. Also, begin discussing with your child possible career choices and discuss the training that will be required for the general income and each provides. Encouraging good money management skills by making sure they track their expenses is exactly what we have our clients do in order to create a realistic spending plan, Matt.
Very good points, Mary. And I think kind of the common theme throughout all those different age groups was the importance of savings.
Exactly.
And savings is something that, you know, as we can all attest to, is something that even, you know, the most financially prudent among us has trouble doing from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can effectively save and you can put that savings in an interest-bearing account, then you're going to be doing very well. As a matter of fact, Albert Einstein called compound interest the most powerful force in the universe, and there's definitely a reason for that. And I think this is a good motivational tool to see how compound interest can work. Let's look at an example of how compound interest can work. If you started, say, a savings account with $50, you added $15 each month, earning interest at a rate of 3.5% each month, then you would have a balance of $1,042 after 5 years. So I think that's important to note for both parents and children. Children see say, wow, you know, if I can save that much, and you know, with that kind of program, then I'm going to effectively be saving, and I'll have a lot of money in a few years. So, Adriana, that example that we just saw of the earning the interest of the 3.5% each month, that's a pretty good savings rate for any savings rate. Is that realistic at all, or is I got that example off of the FDIC's website. And you know, it does illustrate the importance that time does have on money, and that interest can have on money saved. But is that realistic at all? And what, if not, what would be a more realistic example?
Well, right now, the institutions are paying about 1% on savings accounts, but what they usually do is you can put enough money into your savings account and then buy a certificate of deposit, which gives you a higher interest rate. And then, you know, every year or whatever term you decide to put it at, you can add more money into the certificate and just keep earning it at that, which certificates right now, I think the lowest is about 3%. So, you know, it's right around there.
Very good. But savings is good nonetheless, and savings is so important, in fact, that our counselors, Mary can attest to this, our counselors call it paying yourself first, and that means before you spend a dime on anything else, you put a certain percentage of your income, of the money you've just received, into savings. So paying yourself first literally means every time you receive money, put a certain percentage into savings before you spend a dime on expenses. So if somebody can do that, and what do you usually, just by the way, what do you usually recommend for people? Is there a percentage, like 10% of your net income to put in?
10%.
About 10%, okay, put into savings. And Mary, when children are saving, how important is it for them to have something in mind to save for? How important is it for them to have a goal for their money?
It's real important for them to have a goal, Matt. It gives them something to look forward to. It gives them an incentive to save. And it also helps them for their future, because we encourage all of our clients to not only set goals, but to actually write them down. So it's a good practice for children to get into at an early age, to set goals.
Good. Well, in addition to learning about becoming wise financially, many young people and their parents are also interested in how they're going to pay for college. In today's Money Talk segment, Money reporter Stacy Johnson discusses some creative ways to save up to 20% on college expenses.
I'm Stacy Johnson. If you're heading off for college anytime soon, how about a 90-second class on creative financing, covering those college costs? That's what's coming up on Money Talks. College is where you learn valuable lessons. And lesson one you need to learn long before you get here. Namely, the more expensive something is, the more creative you should get. Jim Bauer is a financial aid administrator for a major university and the father of college-age kids. His daughter saved major tuition money while still in high school with a program called concurrent enrollment.
She wasn't excited about what's going on in high school, so the program allowed her to enroll full-time at the local community college and earn 30 credits toward her degree before she even finished high school.
30 credits at a major university could easily cost 20 grand. So ask about concurrent enrollment while your kids are still in high school. Another popular money saver, accelerated degree programs.
Accelerated degrees actually allow students to attend school full-time. They may attend 12 months out of the year in order to complete their degree in 3 calendar years instead of the normal 4.
Shaving a year on campus means shaving the overall bill by 25%. Plus, summer sessions are often cheaper. Third possibility, start small.
Community colleges are lower priced than both public or private four-year institutions.
So starting at a community college is another tactic that could save 25 to 50% of the cost of college. Just make sure those credits will transfer. Bottom line, if you want to save money on college, spend less time on an expensive campus. Just start planning while you're still in high school. For Money Talks, I'm Stacy Johnson.
Thanks, Stacy. You know, planning ahead and starting early is always wise advice. So the sooner that you can get started on your college options, the better off that you will be. Stacy will be back in a few minutes to discuss another segment on creative college financing. But for now, let's turn back to raising money smart kids. controlling spending is something that's important that adults really need to learn to do. In fact, that was one of the big points about the book, The Millionaire Next Door. So let's take a look at 5 things that kids and teens can do to control their expenses and save. Mary, can you take us through these tips?
Sure, Mark. The first one is to practice self-control. That's probably the most important and probably the most difficult one to do. Make a shopping list, stick to it, and set a spending limit before you go shopping. The second one, research before you buy. Research your purchase and use comparison shopping to get the best deal, especially if it's a larger purchase such as a computer or a television. Number 3 is to track your spending. Record every purchase you make so you'll know exactly where your money's going. And that's one thing, one important thing that we really teach our clients to do. Number 4, think used instead of new. And borrow things that you don't have to own and shop at secondhand stores around town to get the best deal. And number 5, take care of what you buy, especially if it's an expensive thing to replace. Make sure that you take care of it and don't buy the same thing twice.
Taking care of what you own, that's something that's important for kids to learn. And have you seen, it seems like when I was a kid, whenever I had to buy an item or I had to put at least some of my money towards an item, I took better care of it.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like, hey, don't scratch my shoes or don't mess up my, motorcycle or whatever. Have you noticed that as well with kids that you've worked with or seen? Okay. So that might be a tip to get kids to better appreciate and take care of the things that they own.
Exactly.
It's a good thing for parents to keep in mind. Well, Adriana, one thing we talked about earlier was a little bit was a savings bond, and what exactly is that, or some basic types, and how would a young person or teen go to your bank and get one of those?
Savings bonds are securities issued by